History has a way of surprising us. Just when we think we know the story, discoveries come along that totally flip the script. From a Greek coin found in Oklahoma that hints at contact with the Americas thousands of years before Columbus, to a 3,700-year-old tablet that reveals trigonometry wasn't invented by the Greeks, to a Stone Age skeleton with a surgically amputated leg, I'm about to change everything you thought you knew. You ready? I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 incredible discoveries that rewrite history. 25. Britain's first salt factory. A group of archaeologists digging around Yorkshire in 2021 came across what they believe to be Britain's oldest salt-making site from the Neolithic era, or about 10,000 BCE. I know, but what's so special about salt to feature on today's list, right? But back then, it was a huge deal. Salt wasn't just for flavor. It was essential for keeping food from spoiling, and was valuable enough to trade. And this wasn't some small-time setup either. They found ancient pits and hearths where people were boiling down salt water in what looks like an early industrial operation. The team from the University of York was blown away. Their discovery shows that these early Britons weren't just roaming around hunting and gathering. They were organized, skilled at production, and likely trading with nearby communities. It completely changes how we see prehistoric Britain, more advanced and connected than we ever thought. 24. Romans in the Canary Islands. In 2024, a research team from the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria uncovered something unexpected along the Canary Islands coastline: fragments of Roman amphorae and ceramics from around the 1st century BCE. For a long time, historians believed that the Canary Islands remained isolated until around the 14th century, when they were rediscovered by Europeans. But this find flips that story on its head. Were the islands a secret Roman outpost? A stop on an unknown trade route? Either way, it's a game changer, expanding our picture of Roman exploration far beyond the Mediterranean. 23. Europe's earliest humans. During a 2023 dig at Ukraine's Korolevo site, archaeologists uncovered stone tools dating back roughly 1.4 million years. That's right, way before Homo sapiens even existed. Previously, researchers believed early human ancestors didn't set foot in Europe until around 800,000 years ago. But this discovery pushes that date back by hundreds of thousands of years, suggesting that early human species, possibly Homo erectus, were already exploring Europe and adapting to its diverse landscapes far earlier than we ever imagined. 22. The Greek coins and white giants. In 1857, a Comanche Native American stood before a crowd and shared an intriguing story. He spoke of a race of white men who were supposedly giants, 10 feet tall, immensely wealthy, and powerful. According to him, they roamed the land long before Europeans arrived, driving indigenous people from their homes. At the time, this tale seemed like a parable, until something shocking surfaced. Archaeologists later found a Greek medallion and 2 coins in Oklahoma. These artifacts led genealogist Donald Yates to re-examine Native American legends, and he uncovered similar stories among other tribes, like the Choctaws in Tennessee. Even the Greek historian Strabo mentioned a western continent, hinting at an ancient knowledge of the Americas. Could Greek explorers have arrived centuries before Columbus? If true, it would upend our timeline of early American history, suggesting a hidden chapter of cross-continental contact, and maybe even conflict. 21. The Mystery Temple linking India to ancient Egypt. There's an old weathered temple dedicated to the goddess Patini on India's western coast. At first glance, this doesn't seem too unusual, until you learn that, according to local lore, it conceals an underground shrine to the Egyptian goddess Isis. Now, I know you want to hear about actual discoveries, but nobody's been allowed to fully explore it, as the site is managed by a Hindu organization. However, according to historian Chris Morgan, the theory that it's an Isis shrine might be more than just local legend. According to him, an Egyptian traveler may have brought Isis worship to India, mixing it with local practices, as both Patini and Isis have violent deaths and dismemberments of their husbands as defining characteristics. If true, this find would hint at ancient cultural exchanges, showing that Egyptian influence may have subtly worked its way into early Hindu practices through unexpected routes. 20. An ancient homework assignment. In 2019, the British Library dusted off a tablet that hadn't seen the light of day since the 70s. At first, it looked almost modern, a child's handwriting copying an adult's phrases. But this wasn't recent. It was an Egyptian homework tablet from 1800 years ago. On it, a young student, likely a boy from a prominent family, since high-status Egyptians were taught Greek, copied Greek proverbs, urging him to avoid bad friends and seek wisdom from the wise. The simple artifact offers us a rare glimpse into ancient education, revealing that moral lessons and intellectual training were part of the classroom experience long before modern schooling came along. 19. The Forgotten Underground City. Ani, once the thriving capital of the Kingdom of Armenia, and famously called the City of 1001 Churches, is a site rich with history. After centuries of prosperity and a complex series of conquests, Ani was eventually abandoned, and much of its above-ground glory was destroyed in the early 20th century. Then, in 2014, researchers announced a discovery that changed everything. They had found an entire underground city beneath Ani's ruins. The hidden complex includes a monastery, a school, monk cells, rock-cut houses, and over 800 structures connected by a network of tunnels. This revelation reframes Ani not just as a lost city, but as a once vibrant center of learning and spirituality, deepening our understanding of Armenia's historical and cultural influence in the region. 18. The world's first glue makers. For decades, scientists thought the lumps of tar they found in German caves were just basic adhesives. But, as it turns out, there's something much more impressive. 200,000-year-old, multi-component glue created by Neanderthals, putting them way ahead of early humans, who didn't start making glue until 130,000 years later. The research from France's Le Moustier region team found that Neanderthals had a unique recipe, mixing bitumen and ochre to create a sticky, grip-friendly adhesive for their tools. They even sourced these materials from far-off locations, showing a surprising level of planning. So, Neanderthals were, in fact, clever problem solvers with their own spin on toolmaking, challenging everything we thought we knew about human innovation and ancient intelligence. 17. Ancient Italian winemaking. Wine has long been a staple of Italian culture, but where did it all really begin? While exploring Monte Cronio, US researchers found large brewer's pots that seemed unremarkable, until they tested the residue inside. The pots contain tartaric acid and sodium salt, clear indicators of grape fermentation, which means they were used for winemaking. And here's the wow moment. Monte Cronio dates back to the Copper Age, early 4th millennium BCE. Until the discovery, experts believed Italian winemaking started in the Middle Bronze Age, around 1300 to 1100 BCE. So this pushes Italy's wine history back nearly 2,000 years. And yes, I understand this is a Malbec and this is, Argentinian. This is all I have. It's a visual aid. It's not perfect. I could have gotten my Manischewitz. 16. Crayons rewrote Australia's ancient history. In 2017, researchers discovered the world's oldest ochre crayons and stone axes crafted by the Aboriginal people, the world's oldest continuous civilization, at the Majabebe Rock Shelter in Australia's Northern Territory. These artifacts push back the timeline of Aboriginal arrival in Australia to as early as 65,000 years ago, nearly 18,000 years earlier than previously thought. The tools show they had advanced skills and likely coexisted with Australia's extinct megafauna. This find not only transformed our understanding of Australian history, but also narrowed the timeline for human migration out of Africa, suggesting humans were spreading across the globe much earlier than expected. And real quick, if you're enjoying this, please don't forget to give it a like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that. It really helps the channel. Thank you so much. 15. The tablet that changed the history of trigonometry. In the early 1900s, archaeologists unearthed a 3,700-year-old clay tablet in Iraq and named it Plimpton 322. For decades, its cuneiform number pattern puzzled scholars until 2017, when researchers finally discovered its purpose. It was the world's oldest and most accurate trigonometric table, predating Greek trigonometry by over a millennium. The Babylonians used an ingenious system based on ratios instead of angles, which was simpler and often more precise. This tablet wasn't just a teaching tool. Plimpton 322 was powerful enough to assist in building massive architectural feats, including palaces, and yes, even pyramids. 14. The Advanced Desert Kingdom of the Garamantes. The Garamantes were an ancient African civilization once known mainly through their capital, Jarma. However, in 2011, satellite imagery revealed over 100 fortified settlements deep in the Sahara, dating back to 1500. These walled towns, with structures still standing 13 feet high, have revealed a complex society that not only survived, but thrived in the desert. The Garamantes engineered an advanced irrigation system, creating oases by channeling groundwater to the surface, in the process allowing crops to flourish in one of Earth's driest places. They had sophisticated urban centers, trade networks, and hydraulic technology, and connected sub-Saharan Africa with the Mediterranean world. The discovery has challenged the view that North Africa's history was predominantly shaped by external empires and highlighted the significant achievements of indigenous African societies. 13. Seals brought tuberculosis to the Americas. It's long been believed that Christopher Columbus and his crew introduced tuberculosis to the Americas in the late 15th century, leading to a devastating decline in Native American populations. However, DNA evidence tells a different story. We now know that seals brought TB to the Americas centuries before Columbus arrived. Scientists made the discovery when they analyzed 1,000-year-old human remains in Peru. The DNA test showed that the TB strain these individuals carried is most similar to the strain found in seals and sea lions, not in humans from Europe. Researchers think these marine animals picked up the disease during African TB outbreaks and carried it across the ocean, where indigenous people contracted it through seal hunting. 12. The Roman Empire's hidden push into Arabia. Rome's empire building was anything but timid, stretching from Scotland to Iraq by the early 2nd century. Historians have long thought that Rome never attempted to conquer Arabia, relying instead on trade with its tribes. However, a 2023 discovery by Oxford researchers may prove otherwise. Using satellite images, they spotted 3 unmistakable Roman military camps along the Saudi Arabia-Jordan border, suggesting a covert Roman push deeper into Arabia. These camps could have been staging points for a campaign against the Nabatean kingdom, which controlled the prized city of Petra. Though Rome annexed Nabatea in 106, these camps hint at larger, possibly unfinished ambitions. I think it's safe to say that not even Arabia's deserts were beyond Rome's reach. 11. Ancient city planning in Mesopotamia. We all know that the Sumerians built some of the world's first cities thousands of years ago, and for the longest time, historians assumed these early cities were basic and chaotic, densely packed around towering ziggurats. But recent discoveries at the ancient city of Lagash are flipping that assumption on its head. Archaeologists from the University of Pennsylvania found that Lagash was laid out in organized districts, divided by walls and canals, a surprising level of planning for such an early city. Though Lagash was abandoned more than 2,000 years ago, it's remained largely intact because later generations didn't build over it. Today, it's teaching us that the ancient Sumerians weren't just the first urbanites, they were incredibly savvy city planners too. 10. Humans started speaking over 1 million years earlier than we thought. The general consensus has always been that we started talking about 200,000 years ago. That timeline has been moved to 1.6 million years ago. Archaeologist Stephen Mithen studied ancient tools and brain structures and skeletons from southern and eastern Africa and found that as early humans' brains grew and their vocal tracts changed, they began using simple words and sentences. They used language to help them with their hunting and planning and even to pass down skills, which helped them to survive. The best part? Mithen believes some of these early sounds might still be here with us. Just like we say buzz or crash, early humans might have used sounds that matched actions, maybe even whoosh for movement. So for all we know, oomph could have been around since the very start. 9. The discovery of a giant diamond. Lucara Diamond Corp recently unearthed a stunning 2,492-carat diamond at Botswana's Karaway mine. This is the second largest diamond ever found and the biggest discovery in over 120 years. The massive gem, discovered using advanced X-ray technology, has rewritten the story of diamond history. First, it challenges long-held beliefs about the rarity of such large stones, proving that monumental diamonds are still out there to be found. Lucara's X-ray system also sets a new standard for mining, showing how modern tech can preserve enormous stones that traditional methods would likely break. Whether this diamond will be auctioned, cut, or left unpolished remains to be seen. 8. The discovery of the world's oldest shipwreck. In an incredible find, a 3,300-year-old shipwreck has been discovered 88 kilometers off the coast of northern Israel. Sitting upright at 1,600 meters deep, this Bronze Age wreck is officially the oldest ever found, with much of its cargo almost perfectly preserved. Spotted by the energy company Energean during a 2023 seafloor survey, the ship was packed with hundreds of amphorae, those classic double-handled jugs likely used to carry oil, wine, and other goods. Until now, researchers believe that Bronze Age sailors hugged coastlines, always keeping land in sight. But the distance of this ship from shore, way out beyond any visible coast, shows that ancient sailors were braver and more skilled than we thought, navigating open seas likely guided by the stars and planets. 7. The ancient geoglyph uncovered in Papa New Guinea. A colossal geoglyph featuring intricate bird designs, including an enormous cockatoo, was discovered in the remote mountains of central Papua New Guinea in 2023. Spanning 40 meters wide and 80 meters tall, or 131 feet wide and 262 feet tall, this ancient artwork was spotted by remote explorer Gary Eastman using Google Earth. It's his second major find of the year, following a Thunderbird geoglyph discovery in the US. While known for its crafts like weaving and pottery, these indigenous communities had no documented history of large-scale stonework. Until now. 6. Pompeis Prison Bakery. Archaeologists at Pompeii Archaeological Park recently uncovered the remains of a prison bakery where enslaved people and donkeys were locked together in cramped quarters to grind grain for bread. The small room, with only a few barred windows high on the walls, reveals a dark side of ancient labor. Deep indentations in the floor show where donkeys and enslaved people, blindfolded and yoked, walked in sync for hours in grueling forced labor. This discovery has shed new light on the brutal conditions of ancient slavery. Pompeii's director Gabriel Zuchtrigal called it the most shocking side of ancient slavery, reduced to brute violence. We obviously have a lot more to learn about the ancient cultural practices of Pompeii. 5. The submerged bridge in Mallorca. Archaeologists have uncovered a 25-foot bridge hidden in a submerged cave in Mallorca, Spain. This bridge dates back nearly 6,000 years, meaning humans explored and settled the Mediterranean about 1,600 years before any confirmed activity on the island. Discovered in the Genovesa cave, this bridge wasn't just a pile of rocks. It's clear that early settlers carefully built it, probably to get fresh water. Archaeologists dated the mineral deposits to verify the bridge's age, confirming this remarkable discovery and, in the process, rewriting the timeline of Mediterranean exploration. 4. A new fossil find in Saudi Arabia. Archaeologists uncovered a 90,000-year-old human middle finger bone, the oldest known human fossil outside of Africa and the Levant, at a site that was once teeming with lakes and animals, but is now a bone-dry desert. This single fossil places humans in Arabia around 85,000 years ago, which is 20,000 years earlier than previously believed. It also challenges the idea that humans left Africa in just 2 major waves, suggesting instead that migration was more complex, with multiple waves over time. As Michael Petraglia from the Max Planck Institute put it, these early journeys were far more complicated than our textbooks tell us, showing that early humans ventured far and wide much earlier than we'd ever imagined. 3. An ancient amputation in the jungle. In 2022, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a Stone Age hunter-gatherer with an amputated left leg, dating back an astounding 31,000 years. Found in an isolated limestone cave in Borneo, accessible only by boat in a grueling jungle trek, this skeleton reveals a truly astonishing level of medical knowledge. The team, led by Australian archaeologist Dr. Tim Maloney, found that the leg had been carefully amputated, with signs of healing indicating the person lived another 6 to 9 years post-surgery. Until now, the oldest known surgical amputation was a mere 7,000 years old. This Borneo find rewrites what we thought about ancient medicine, showing that early humans likely understood complex surgery, antiseptics, and post-op care long before we ever imagined. 2. The hieroglyphs that changed Egypt's ancient history. Archaeologists in Egypt's Sinai Desert rediscovered 60 ancient carvings that shake up everything we thought we knew about Egypt's earliest rulers. One of the most surprising finds is a hieroglyphic inscription showing that Pharaoh Narmer's wife, Queen Neithotep, was in fact a queen in her own right, and that she ruled as regent for the young pharaoh Jur 5,000 years ago, long before famous queens like Hatshepsut and Cleopatra. Another unexpected revelation came with an inscription that suggests Egypt's ancient capital, Memphis, existed even before Narmer's time. Known as the White Walls, Memphis might have been around under a lesser-known ruler named Irihor, changing our timeline of the city's origin. And to top it all off, archaeologists found drawings of boats with early royal symbols, showing that Egypt's love of boats started way earlier than we thought. 1. The recent discoveries that are making us rethink human evolution. In the past 2 years, a series of discoveries have transformed our understanding of human evolution, revealing that so-called advanced behaviors emerged much earlier than we thought. Take architecture, for example. At Colombo Falls in Zambia, archaeologists discovered logs that were shaped to interlock. And not just any logs. Logs that are 476,000 years old, crafted almost 200,000 years before Homo sapiens even existed. Then there's art. Neanderthals, long seen as primitive, are now credited with painting on cave walls, with new examples uncovered this year at La Roche-Cotard in France. Evidence even suggests that earlier species like Homo erectus carved patterns on shells, and in South Africa's Rising Star Cave, the debated Homo naledi might have created carvings and buried their dead. Together, these discoveries push us to rethink the roots of art, architecture, and social structures, showing that the origins of human behaviors are far older and more complex than we ever imagined, forcing us to rethink what truly makes us human. And that's a wrap. And usually I would point you to one of our other videos. I mean, we have tons, so definitely check those out. But today, I've got something exciting to share. We've just launched a brand new channel called Dark Roast Detectives, where I dig into the most intriguing true crime stories out there. So if that sounds up your alley, or you know someone who would love it, hit this link and check it out. I would really, really appreciate the support. And of course, if you are just sticking around here, well, I'll see you in the next video. Catch you soon.